Hello, good evening and welcome to Friday night's Fools Rush In on what really has been an interesting week at FIA HQ. It's certainly been a mix of the good, the bad and the ugly, but I'm delighted to say it's ending on a real high. We've got a weekend's action to preview and we have one hell of a panel to preview it. Yes, Liam. This is the award-nominated Fools Rush In, but more on that later. Thank you for highlighting that fact. Before we talk about that, before we talk about the football, and before we say hello to tonight's panel, let's roll the titles.
Take my hand, take my whole life too, but I can't fall in love with you.
We've been specifically asked not to do a welcome big question food question this week, which I know will disappoint our first panelist as we say hello and good evening to Friday Evening Joseph.
How's it going, mate?
Very well. How are you, buddy?
Yeah, good, thanks. Good to be back on and do what we do.
Always enjoy having you on the panel, mate. Always some very good anecdotes and definitely good opinion to share on all sorts of things. So looking forward to what you bring to it tonight.
Oh, you're too kind, mate. You're too kind.
Someone who's managed to get out of hair and makeup in time for tonight. Evening, Woody.
Evening, how are we?
Very well, thank you. I've noticed your name says Woody on his best behaviour.
Yes, after my really inappropriate C-bomb that I dropped last week, although it may be justified. When we're hitting the big time, we've got to be very careful of the language that we choose to fucking use on this fucking podcast. Yeah, I am. I'll tell you what a weekend of sport we've got coming up. I am buzzing for this weekend. How are you?
Any particular? Well, before that, any particular highlights this weekend you're looking forward to?
Well, it feels like, although it wasn't that long ago, it feels like ages since I watched a Swindon game. So I'm looking forward to tomorrow because I'm actually going. And obviously, Jody Morris has kind of gone under the radar this week, but it is his first home game.
It is indeed
this weekend. So we'll talk about that later. And a packed weekend for women's football as well. And yes, for someone like me who doesn't mind a bit of egg chasing, there's there's hopefully a fraction of our friends from down south of Europe this weekend as well. Lovely.
Well, it's certainly a packed weekend for you, that's for sure. And plenty for you to discuss in the next hour or so. Before that, we have more panelists. A man who's desperately trying to sober himself up did he say off camera he's already smashed at least one full bottle of wine? Good evening, Nick.
Yeah, hiya, Fyfie. It's a pity we're not talking foodies. I've had a nice Marks and Spencer's pulled pork and
Of course you have.
Stilton. With a lovely bit of spinach in sauce. A whole bottle of wine, as you can tell, because I'm slurring, and I'm absolutely buzzing for tonight. Roll it on.
So Nick has got the basic working class pulled pork and made it absolute royalty.
Absolutely.
Best bit was, Fyfie, your intro when they said he'd already necked a bottle of red. Everyone was expecting Craig.
Yes.
Yeah.
Nick, we've got a comment for you. I'm not sure Liam's realised that he's got his caps lock on. Either that or he's really shouting to emphasise the point. There's a cost of living crisis, Nick, for fuck's sake.
No, man, not in this area. There's not. Yeah, you only live once. Just go for it.
Yes, I'm sure that Rishi Sunak and his squad are delighted you're giving that sort of advice out, Nick.
Oh yeah, fuck him as well.
Fools Rushing goes party political.
Sorry, Joe. If you're texting, if you're looking, I'm sorry. I'll stop now.
Nick was only saying off camera, "Oh lads, have you noticed that I don't like being told off by our regulars, so I've stopped swearing on camera."
It's also because I'm meeting Joe on Saturday, so I shall behave now. So I'll be good.
We have one more treat for the Friday night viewers, and that is a young man who doesn't normally appear on a Friday night, but here he is to help discuss all things STFC. Good evening, Rich.
Good evening. How are we all?
Very, very well. Thank you. Yourself?
Good stuff. Yeah, absolutely buzzing. Looking forward to this weekend. Looking forward to a good evening with you boys tonight. I'm sure we'll have many more laughs to go on. Nick, you are absolutely making me absolutely piss myself off camera there. Go on, Nick.
Go on, Joe. Yeah, cheers, Joe.
Let's get straight into it then, shall we? So we've got, as Woody, you mentioned it, so let's start with you. Back at home for Jody's first game in charge. Obviously not the result we wanted last weekend, as we discussed on Monday. So are you hopeful of a different outcome this time round, now that he's had a full week to prepare?
Well, yeah, I'm always hopeful of a different outcome when we've lost. But it's, yeah, I mean, it feels like, although I'm going to completely go on record and contradict everything I ever believe in football, and, although every game is important, it feels like almost last game wasn't that important because this is Jody Morris's. I don't know about anybody else, but it feels like this is Jody Morris's first game in charge. Kind of walking through the county ground doors.
It doesn't count till the town end get to see him. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly that. I don't know what they're going to be singing to. I don't know what the 15-year-olds are going to be singing, but it's going to be but it's gone under the radar. Saying off air, it's kind of gone off the under the radar this week. So. Yeah, I mean, Donny are in okay form, and I don't think they're in bad form, and I don't think they're in particularly good form. So I think it's probably quite an.
I was just going to say, I believe that they won last weekend, having lost the previous 3. I believe.
Yeah, and they're still hanging around Middleton. They're kind of benefiting from what we had. Kind of where we picked up quite a few wins in a row. Obviously, we had a very successful October, and I think that put us in good stead for. Where we are now type thing. And so it's I haven't really done too much homework into kind of the pre-match. I believe that FBT's out as well, and obviously Tomlinson's still not back yet, so it does beg to question why we didn't sign a fucking centre back in January. But it's but either way, I just feel like a bit like Charlie Austin's homecoming. It was hopefully tomorrow is going to be the atmosphere is going to be good, and hopefully I don't know if anybody's really noticed this season, but it feels like the team don't necessarily choke under the pressure of the home crowd this season. So yeah, it's we'll see what happens.
Okay. Rich, on the subject that we brought up there, Sean also mentioned it as well. Looks like we might be a little light on injuries and suspensions. Obviously, we know we've got a couple out through suspension. I was listening to Jody Morris's pre-match, and he mentioned about Lavigne obviously being out, but he was a little bit sort of more cryptic on the others, suggesting at time of recording that he needed to see over the next 24, 36 hours how a few things were before ruling anyone else out.
Yeah, I think obviously Lavigne is obviously out, but I think he's definitely confirmed Tomlinson's out as well. Blake Tracy, from what I know, he was very unwell yesterday, but obviously don't really know exactly what his illness actually is, how long it will take for him to fully recover, whether or not he'll even be, if he is able to play on Saturday, whether or not he'd be fully able to do so after coming back from that illness. And do we really want that? We really want a team to go out there on Saturday to really, put a fight up against Doncaster. And if that does mean that Minton comes into the back four with Clayton, then I would totally not be against that at all. I think he's more than deserving of an opportunity to start. And not just come off the bench. And it's not something I really like seeing anyway. Defenders being swapped as a substitution anyway. I like to keep a compact back four during most of the game unless it's really not working. But it'd be a great opportunity as well for Minton as well. Obviously, Morris's first game as well, and what a way to. For an 18-year-old to put your foot on the mark and say, hey, look, I should be starting and I should be getting consistent game time. And then maybe when Blake Tracy comes back into the fold, he might go back left back. Who knows? We'll wait and see. But it's, I think in terms of that, it's only positive for us because that means maybe a few other youngsters come into the team tomorrow. Because every player this week in training will want to have impressed Jody Morris. So every single player will be fighting for their place this weekend. And we might, obviously, Hepburn Murphy's out, suspended. Saidu Khan's still suspended. So, it'd be interesting to see who does come into the fold and who's going to, step up to the mark. And hopefully, they'll all be up for this game. And hopefully we can get a win.
Well, speaking of people stepping up, Joe, obviously you weren't here on the Monday night panel. Could Tommy be the guy to step up?
Go on, Tommy.
There's no reason in a front two with Charlie Austin. There's no reason to at least give him a chance. None of the other strikers are actually pulling up any trees at the moment, are they? So, other than Charlie, obviously. But yeah, why not? I mean, that goal, regardless of it. People were saying, and I've seen a few people on Twitter saying, it was a meaningless goal, but it wasn't for him. That was an important goal for him. It was meaningless in
100%.
In terms of the result for the team. All right, it probably perhaps was a meaningless goal, but for him, I think that's massive. And
just on that point, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but just on that point, because I've seen that as well. This league is so tight at the minute. If we end up having to battle it out for a playoff spot, this could come down to goal difference. And, keeping that to 1 instead of 2 could be massive. Yeah,
definitely. And look, the more players you got on the pitch to score goals, then the more chance you got of winning games, don't you? So, I got a funny feeling we're going to see a few high-scoring games for the rest of the season, a few 3-2s and 4-3s and things like that. I can't see us having many 1-0 nail biters. It's all going to be high scoring games, I think. But I was happy for Tommy last week. I think he really needed that, and hopefully that'll give him some confidence for the rest of the season. On the point of the defenders, I think FBT will play anyway. I think he'll play tomorrow, and I wouldn't be surprised if he goes in at left back and then Clayton comes in at centre back.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a shout. We know that the club have been doing stuff with Clayton as well, so clearly building up to his return. I believe you said you're going tomorrow, aren't you, Joe?
Yeah, I'll be there. Yeah.
What you expecting? One of the other things Jody was saying in his pre-match was obviously he was there for the Gillingham game, and he heard in the second half what the fans were able to offer the team, and he was very, despite the result, etc., he was full of praise for the fans that travelled last weekend as well. So you expecting a big ovation for him and for the team tomorrow?
Yeah, I'm thinking it'll be similar to the Grimsby game where Charlie came home. I think, people will be up for it. The crowd will be up for it as long as the team start the game well, and attack from the early minutes, and the crowd will get behind them. And we've seen before at the County Ground, when the crowd are fully behind the team, it's a hard place to come and play. So for the opposition, so yeah, I think it's going to be decent crowd, pretty good atmosphere, and I think we'll get the points tomorrow. Personally,
I like that Ben isn't even hiding who he is anymore, other than just sort of putting BTB as his initials, hoping that the hierarchy at Waitrose don't know. Nick, let's bring you in here then. What are you expecting from tomorrow's game in terms of style of play?
I think if FBT is not available, I think he'll, as much as I don't like it, I think he'll go to back three with Clayton, Brennan and Minton, and that would put Iandolo and Hutton as wing backs, and that would suit Iandolo much better. Good old Jack in that position, and then with Kane, Williams and Kadji, Austin, Wakelin up front. So depends if their main man is fit or not. So if he's been ill all week, to me it's probably not a great idea to play him, because you only need to be a few % below par and you'll get punished. So the lineup will be interesting, but so as much as I don't like it, I think we'll end up going to a back three.
Okay, and from Doncaster, then Nick, what are you expecting from them?
I think it'd be a tough game. I'll hold off on my prediction until later. But I think it will be a hard game, not one that we're going to roll them over.
Okay, interesting. Rich, are you of the same opinion?
Yeah, I think it's going to be one of those games, really. It might take a while to possibly break them down, but I think, and also I think it would be interesting to see the full effect of, I'm going to say it now, Morris Ball tomorrow and see, and see what kind of effect it will have, and whether or not, we might come out of the gates. We did against Gillingham, didn't we? Scored in the first 59 seconds. Whether or not, I don't think we'll do that again, to be quite honest with you. But, I think against any team from now to the end of the season, we've got to come straight out the blocks. But also, we've got to be very careful how we defend as well. So, because we know what happened against Gillingham, and we can't let that happen again. So, I think it's just the fine details. We've got a good team. We have got a few players out tomorrow, but still, that's still a strong squad. So, as long as the fine details and the way that Morris wants to play football, I think we will get a good result. Whether or not we'll batter them, I don't think we will. I won't say my score prediction just yet, but I do think I'd like to think that we will win tomorrow. I really do, and I think it'd be good for Morris's confidence as well to get a win.
I do appreciate how we've been doing this podcast now for just over 2 years, and you've finally got round to not doing the predictions until I ask for them. Well done.
I'm learning still. Learning.
So, Woody, with regards to the players that are missing, stroke reported to be missing, are you expecting maybe a change in shape to accommodate different players, or just the players fit into what we have been playing?
I'm in two minds. I do agree with Nick. I do think if FPT's out, we might see 3 at the back. I don't necessarily think that's the right thing to do, but we're running out of options a little bit. I don't know. I think if we can make it work that we've got the 4 at the back with kind of the 3 forward players, I'd like to see him still do that. Like, rather, rather than change the system, kind of just change the personnel where it's possible. That's what I'd like to see him do. Whether he'll do it, and I think also I always find that when we set up 3-5-2, we're quite, no matter who's in charge, we're quite reserved, and I think Doncaster will come at us with a not going to beat us attitude. They've had some really bad results recently, so I've just had a look at their recent results, and they got Danny Schofield. They got Danny Schofield as well as their head coach. So I think if we go 3-5-2, I got a feeling we'll be in for a boring game. But I don't think Donny will come at us. I think, as I said before, Grimsby came at us, which was probably part of the reason of their downfall. Obviously, apart from going down to 10, but so I'd like to think he'll still keep those 3 attacking players, because that's when Swindon look their best, and that's when the crowd are entertained, when we've got those 3 attacking players.
Joe, so with no Lavinier, question marks over FBT, Tomlinson likely out as well. Another big game potentially for Ellis, and it's very important, first of all, for him to reach the levels that we know he can do, but equally, if it doesn't start epically, important that the fans don't jump straight on his back, because in some quarters he does appear to be being made something of a scapegoat now.
Yeah, he is. He's this season's scapegoat, isn't he? And it's he's not been in the greatest form this season, but I think, as much as I agree with Nick, I don't like Free at the back, but I think it suits Ellis a lot better to play as a left wing back rather than a left back in a 4.
So it could protect him potentially.
Yeah, because he's got that extra defender in that left back position. But we've all said, haven't we, he's far better in the centre of midfield, but he's probably going to have to do a job there for a couple of games on the left at the moment until we've got players back. Who knows? Maybe Reece Devine's back fit and he might get in with a chance. I don't know, but
lesser spotted Reece Devine.
Lesser spotted. Could he be thrown in at left back and see what he can do? But
that is his position of choice.
Yeah, and
I do wonder with Devine if he's not in the squad at all, because I believe he's fit. If he's not in the squad at all, I don't think we'll see him for the rest of the season. I think that will tell us that he's not in Jody's plans at all for the rest of the season, which is a shame, because he did come with a little bit of hype. But it's maybe not justified hype, but it just seems so weird that we signed permanently two left backs, and it seems to be the area that we are really struggling from, and I think it's a message to Swindon fans. I know I called out the lad who did the stupid video last week, but it's a message to the Swindon fans. We all think that Ellis shouldn't be playing left back, but he might have to. So there's no point getting on his back. He's probably, I had no doubt that Jody probably prefers him in centre midfield. But if he is our only left-footed player available, then we just got to cope with it. We just got to cope with the fact he might be there. And I wouldn't want to see Swindon fans getting on his back unless his attitude changes. Because there's one thing that we can say about Ellis is his attitude is always top notch. He's just had a bad season. I think Swindon fans just need to be aware of that. Really, I'd like to think they are, but we're a funny bunch, aren't we? So
aren't we just?
Yeah, it sums up Swindon fans when all of last season they're all singing his name all season. So
with Rich's
favourite chant.
If we lose tomorrow, then what's people going to say about Jody Morris? That's all I'm saying. It'd be just typical fucking Swindon.
There'll be definitely hashtag Morris out.
Yeah, of course there will be. It's just and this is why I don't.
We should have got Sheridan back. Should have got Phil Brown.
This is why you can't take any notice, because whether or not it's banter or it's not banter, a lot of it, at the moment it's actually quite a serious topic as well, because Morris has come with a hell of a lot of experience, and even if the first 2 games don't go his way, it ain't the end of the world. I know we said that about Lindsay, but Lindsay, speaking of, good timing there, Liam. Obviously with Lindsay, he went on a streak of just drawing games and then not really winning any. So, I think Morris, he's the bigger picture, and he's going to be the one that's going to be. You may as well fucking do if people start shouting Morris out tomorrow.
Oh wow,
crazy.
Nick, you said in your first section that you were expecting a difficult game, not one that we're going to turn them over, etc. So we already mentioned that Lavinier missing, and he won goal of the month for December and January. If it is a tight game, and say we're not able to provide the service for Charlie that he's been thriving on so far since re-signing, do you think there's enough in reserve to go and get the goals required tomorrow?
Yeah, there should be. I mean, Jody Morris has already said he's got a squad and he will use the squad as he sees appropriate. And if he needs to bring players in throughout the game, he will do that. So I don't think there's any major issue with that. And so I haven't seen too much about who is actually available from last week. I think you just flashed up about Shade. I mean, he could be available, sat on the bench. I'd think other forwards will sit there busting a gut to get on the pitch. So I think, attack wise, we've got a number of options, but I still think we'll start with Charlie and Wakeling up front, and then that may be changed after 60 minutes. And looking for other players to come in, with the likes of Adeloy coming on, maybe knocking another goal in. So who knows?
Paddy's been in touch at Fools Rush In. Congratulations on the nomination for Podcast of the Year. Thank you very much, Paddy. Appreciate that. 100% fully deserved. Going to plug for a 3-2 victory on the Jody Morris home debut as a gaffer, hoping for a cracking atmosphere too. There is obviously we do talk all things STFC and wider topics generally. But sometimes there are things going on away from football that have to be acknowledged. And Joe, there's a minute's silence before the game tomorrow because of the tragic news of what's been going on the borders between Turkey and Syria this week.
Yeah. It's a bit unfortunate, isn't it? We seem to be having minutes applauses and minutes silence nearly every game at the moment. So many things are happening, but yeah, it's good. I mean, football's such a massive community now and a way of bringing people together. So yeah, it's a good way of marking some respect, showing some respect. And
I just want to say, Woody, Fyfie even. I think it's sorry.
That's all right.
No, I think it's good that obviously we are, and the whole of the EFL and Premier League are acknowledging that and everything like that. Obviously, I've got some ties to Turkey as well. Parents live out there half the year, so obviously, thankfully, I say thankfully, the area where I am based out in Turkey weren't actually affected, but I think quite a few other people that are actually getting transferred to the town, so it's good to see that a lot of people are being rescued and are safe. But obviously I think it is good that obviously we are paying tribute to the I think it's 20,000 plus that have died.
Yeah.
So I think it's really good that obviously that we're marking respect for that, and obviously hope that Atsu, I think it was, that got caught in the rubble as well.
Yep, and he's been found safe.
Yeah, hopefully he's found safe.
100%, and obviously we that we feel like there's very little we can do from where we are, but we send our best thoughts and wishes to obviously everyone out there and families and affected by the tragic events of this week. So please do make sure, if you can get there early on, early for the game to mark the respect with a minute's silences and make sure it's observed properly in the way that pretty much always do at Swindon Town, in fairness. I can't remember a minute's silence that wasn't observed properly, particularly in recent times. We are very good at doing the right thing there. Okay, time for your big moments then, guys. It's prediction time, and if we could avoid all going for a win, because that never ends up well when we do that. So I'm going to start. Nick, let's start with you, please.
Okay, Fyfie, I'll set the scene and do exactly what you said. I'm going 2-2.
2-2. Okay, let's go, Joe.
As much as I'd like to be negative for you, I generally think we're going to put it on tomorrow, and I'm going for 3-0.
3-0, nice. Rich?
Going for the 6-pointer. 2-1, Swindon.
Okay, lovely. Well, Woody's just doing the maths. Woody, prediction from you, please?
I am with Joe. I do think we are going to win 3-0.
Okay, Sean there going 3-1. We had a 1-1 prediction earlier. There it is. And Ben also, Jack.
Jack.
Also,
Jack.
predicted.
We know it's
Ben in disguise.
We know it's actually Ben because of the trash that's coming out of his mouth, out of his fingers.
However, if any of the higher ups at Waitrose are watching, it's not Ben.
No, what you got to understand with retail, guys, for those who have worked in retail before, the higher people don't work Friday nights because they got people like Ben to work the Friday nights instead.
Never worked in retail, so I wouldn't know, would he?
God. Before we come on to, in fact, no, let's tackle these while we're on the subject. Next up, the Swindon Town women's. I noted, Woody, the first team, they're travelling to the South Coast again. And it's that team that you've mentioned a few times. Is it Moneyfields?
Yeah, Moneyfields. I'm trying to think which team and which ex-Swindon player ended up there. I want to say Vincent Perricard played there at one point. But it's the one that I've been kind of, I guess, intrigued about. Moneyfields. They obviously came up from Abingdon's league last season. Probably should have been in Swindon's league a couple of seasons ago, to be fair. Very good side. I thought, I'll hold my hands up and thought that if they kept the same squad, in Portsmouth, they used Portsmouth's training facilities, I think. But I thought they were going to be a bit of an aging side. I thought they might have struggled a little bit, but they seem to have done really well. And they've got, I think it's Jade Widows this year who scored quite a few. Not quite Annie Colston's level, but they've got players all over the team that can score goals. So it's definitely going to be an interesting one. I know it's down in Portsmouth, but I would encourage people that it would be quite a, would you say feisty, Rich? You've seen Moneyfields. Would you say feisty game is probably the right terminology?
Feisty, very, I wouldn't go abusive, but I'd say they're very, they're
physical.
They are and they're the ultimate shithouses. They generally
massively.
are the best game manager inside I've ever seen.
And, I think Moneyfields are definitely one to obviously watch out for as well. I mean, they just beat the league leaders, Cardiff, 4-0 the other week. So, I think I definitely think Swindon have got their work cut out for them. But also, I think, Swindon's team can more than capable of beating them as well. I think because, with Bournemouth drawing against Bournemouth at the weekend, I think, that's a massive result. So if they beat Moneyfields or even get a result on Moneyfields, I think that would be an incredible result.
Woody, Mike's been on touch via all of the socials. And first of all, he's asked for a fact check on something you said. Perricard played for Moneyfield Women.
He couldn't get into the women's side, so he played for the men's instead.
He's also been on touch via Twitter, Nick, with a comment for you. Watching Fools Rush In, and I'm very impressed with Ocus Road, channeling his inner Dan Hunt and producing some impressive size. Is the message.
Sorry, Mike, it's the wine. I'll try and stop. But I'd just like to comment on the women's. If they're down in Portsmouth, whatever happens down there, Portsmouth is such a shithole. It's bound to be a rough game. That is the biggest shithole team in the country. Hate it down there.
Sean, same thought. So went to watch Shrivenham in the FA Vars years ago, and they had a great run in it. And then Mike's come back again. Something you can comment on, I'm sure, Woody. Moneyfields are gentle compared to Pin Mill.
Yeah. Yeah, so it'll be good. Hopefully it'll be a good game overall. I don't think they're playing at Moneyfields Football Club at the moment. I think that's currently having some work done to it. I think they're playing elsewhere. I'll have to check the socials.
Who was that?
Me. That was me.
Oh.
They're having some work. I just thought, they're having some work there. That means
I had images of the old Lee Power case then for someone had dialed in. I'm just waiting for someone to let the porn music go. Yeah.
Give me a minute. I'm sure I've got that somewhere. Hang on.
Somebody snuck it onto set. Yeah. I think the development side are at home as well to Exeter City Reserves. Should really be a win on paper, but as we all know, game's not played on paper. And
they're playing on grass.
Yeah, and they're Jesus, you're coming out of them tonight, ain't you, Rich? Jesus Christ! I can see that.
Sal Rich is tired, can't you?
Yeah, that stand-up career's got you houses in Turkey, mate, isn't it? Jesus. But yeah, it's they've got a game, and I just want to give a shout out to my old side, Abingdon. They've got a massive game this weekend. If they avoid defeat, they will go into Swindon's league next season, and I think it means they also win that league regardless. So yeah, a massive shout out to those guys because I know a couple of the guys watch, including our friend Tim, Oxford Tim. He's obviously quite a big Aberdeen United fan, so. I really hope they win. I can't get along to watch it, but yeah, that's when I started that club 6 years ago now, roughly 5-6 years ago, getting to the National League was the ultimate aim. So if they can tie that up on Sunday, that's absolutely fantastic. When you think we had 2 years written off due to COVID, so yeah, massive good luck to them and obviously to Swindon teams.
Yeah, and yourself, Woody, what Bassett up to this week?
We are hosting the Gas. They're a very good side at this level. They've had a lot of attention, obviously, through the media last season. I think they bring a crowd normally as well. I've been told to expect quite a few away fans, which will be quite interesting. It's going to be a tough game.
They've got a drum.
Have they got a drum?
I don't know.
How do you know?
It'd be
Rich is just shouting out anything tonight.
It'd be a typical Bristol Rovers thing, though, wouldn't it? It'd be a typical Bristol Rovers thing, though.
Yeah, if it has, then my own aim will be to smash that drum throughout the game. But yeah, it's we've got that is a tough game. I'm looking forward to it though. I've said I think I put in my pre-match notes for the program that it's.
Oh, do you get to do the notes now, Woody?
I do. I think all the coaches
he does
do.
the program.
Yeah. I write the program, sing the program,
hand out the program,
sell the program. But yeah, no. I think realistically, I'm quite happy with where. I know we're still waiting to pick up that vital win. I'm not necessarily saying I'm going to expect it this weekend. I go into every game wanting to win it, obviously. But when I look at like last week, we drew 2-2 with Poole, and we finished the game with 6 of our players are eligible still for under-17s football. So when you think that they're playing one level below Swindon, and they've got that, it's. Hopefully it shows for a bit of a bright future, even if it's not going to come straight away.
And while we're in the mindset, Rich, have you got any coaching this weekend?
Yeah, I'm just coaching my under-10s this weekend, but that's about it for me. We haven't got a game due to half term, but we'll be back next weekend.
Yeah, that's an odd one for me because traditionally Leicester always have their holidays a week before Swindon, but your half term's a week before ours this time round.
Yeah, so this was the other thing as well. I wasn't 100% sure because I asked somebody at work who's based in Bournemouth. I was like, "Oh, when's your half term this week then?" And she's like, "Oh, it's next week." But I wasn't sure. Woody, when is half term? Was it this week or was it next week?
Next week.
Next week. Oh, okay. So it's right. So it does seem as if it is the same because what was it in Leicester? Is it next week in Leicester as well? Is it?
No, it's the week after in Leicester.
Oh, it's the week after. Oh, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a weird thing, isn't it? I don't know how we've got on to talking about this, but we talk about food. But
Well,
but,
that
yeah,
week
it's a weird thing,
it's
'cause last
Pancake
year-
Day.
Well, that's true. Yeah, big day.
Massive.
Last year, Wootton Bassett, the Wiltshire schools had a different halftime to the Swindon schools. So yeah, it's really strange, but oh well, I don't, doesn't affect me. It just means a quieter travel to work. That's what that normally means.
I'm not going to open that particular rabbit hole just yet, but now that it has been confirmed, there will obviously be some pancake chat coming up on Fools Rush In, which I'm sure will get everyone debating what they have on it. Please don't send your answers in now. Save it for closer to the time. There's my school have broken up for half term today. I'm on holiday.
Oh, I love that. We're being listened to at the side of the swimming pool. How cool is that?
On the subject of half term, is it just me or has the club not given out tickets to schools in recent times?
Do you know what? 100% Sean. I was thinking this a couple of nights ago, actually. I think I was talking to somebody about it, and I just thought
it's amazing what crosses your mind on random evenings, isn't it, Woody?
Yeah.
It's good that people bring it up, though.
Yeah, I find it strange as well. I know the foundation is still doing their stuff with the football clubs, etc. And I believe they're still doing it with some schools, like they get like a code and all of that kind of stuff. But there doesn't seem to be any big school club incentives, and I'm quite surprised, given that our crowds this season. You'd almost feel like you want to bolster that a little bit. Maybe they're trying to hide because of the problems we have with the under 16 scenario. Maybe they're thinking if we did that, it would kind of look like a cover-up type thing. We're trying to backtrack, possibly. I don't know, but it would be nice to see, especially if we get to some games over the half term or the Easter holidays. I think it would be a good opportunity.
No, definitely. But going full circle, as Woody said, good luck to all the teams we've mentioned there, from Swindon Town Women to Abingdon, Bassett, and obviously, Rich, that you don't have a game, but enjoy training nonetheless.
Cheers, mate.
Okay, let's carry on with Swindon Town related news for the time being. And the latest transfer is Mo Dabry's gone out on loan again. He's gone
I think he's still out at Worthing. I think
he's gone back to Worthing. Yeah,
it's just been extended. I think. Yeah,
that's exactly it. Well, as you've jumped in there, Rich, let's come to you. Obviously, it's always good for these players to go out, get some game time. And obviously, we've seen he's netted a few goals. He's obviously doing well there. Do you think there is a place for him maybe next season within the first team?
I mean, it worked for Aguiar. I mean, I don't know, maybe he needs to have the end of the season, because this is what I don't quite understand, is why players just go out for a month and then see how it goes. Just do it for I don't know if there's some reason as to why they can't do that. I'm not exactly entirely sure. But I am glad that Dabro's gone out for the rest of the season, because I think it's good to have a little bit of consistency. Because when you keep getting pulled and then put out on loan again, then pulled back and then out on loan again.
Especially to multiple different teams in a season.
Exactly. And it doesn't help. It doesn't help. You want to gel with your players. And if you can't do that with a team, you're not gonna progress. So I think it's good that Dabro is actually doing well at Worthing from what we've been told, and the fact that they've extended it, fantastic. Now go on and do what I don't know where Worthing are in their league, to be quite honest with you, but I mean, whether or not, just have a strong end to the season. You're going to be in Morris's plans for next season, or you definitely put yourself in for a shout. Absolutely. I think a couple of other players that are out on loan at the moment, I think they've gone to players that teams that are I think there's teams like Wantage and stuff like that in the Hellenic League. It's good experience for the 16, 17-year-olds, absolutely, for sure. Gives them a good, immense football that they're not going to get. And I think that's massively important. And I hope that they're like season-long loans as well. But yeah, I think with Dabre, for sure, absolutely. And hopefully, even if he's not in Morris's plans for next season, hopefully he goes on a season-long loan again next season to a higher division so he can test himself. He's already been on loan at Chippenham, and he did well there. But again, he was pulled back from that loan last season, so that's not doing him any favours. So the fact that he's at Worthing now, I think that bodes massively well for him, and it's only going to make him a better player.
I certainly hope so. Joe, anything you'd like to add on Dabre specifically?
I was just looking at the league table there, and they're actually 5th, so they're in with a good chance of making the playoffs. So that could be really good experience for him if they can have a good end to the season and get involved in playoff semi-finals. And I know it's a lower level, but the pressure's still the same, And so that's massive for somebody. I think he's 19. That could be a massive 4 or 5 months for him now in his development. And like I say, if he goes down there and performs well, then he's got every chance of being here again next year.
That's the thing, isn't it, Joe? Because I don't know about anyone else, but it feels like he's been here. He's another player who seems to have been here a long time, but he's still a young man learning his craft.
Yeah, and I think he's had a bit of the problem that Ellis had in his younger days, whereas they don't really know what position to play him in. We've seen him in cup games. He's played on the wing. He's played up front. He's played at left back or left wing back, whatever. But I think Worthing were playing, from what I saw from the reports, they were actually playing him as like a holding midfielder, like a
good N'Golo Dabre.
Yeah, like a Kante sort of role, and little but energetic, and he is feisty as well. He'll tackle that lad. He puts himself about. And
we've seen it in cup games.
Yeah, I from what I've seen of him, limited obviously from cup games and friendlies and things, I really like him. But this next 4 months now, 4 or 5 months, whatever, for him is massive because he's either getting himself another contract at Swindon or he's putting himself in the shop window for a decent move in the summer. So it's a massive 4 or 5 months for him, and potentially for Swindon as well.
Yeah, I think with Worthing as well, I think Worthing aren't a bad team either. Like, obviously, they are down the divisions, like, for example, but they've produced great players. Like, obviously, we got Ricky Aguiar. I mean, I know he hasn't really pulled up many trees this season, but obviously he did.
Clearly a talent.
He's a massive talent, and he did well at the back end of last season. So we know there's a player in there. Mm-hmm. It's just bringing out the confidence of that player. And, I think
the thing is when you go the other way, like, so Aguiar has gone from part-time football into full-time football. That's a much bigger that's a much bigger step than people realise, I think.
Massive, yeah.
Fitness-wise, you've got to learn so much more about the game. Dabre, I've been reliably informed from a couple of people that Dabre is one of the fittest people at the club. So
yeah, he is. Yeah,
he's going to go down there and he's going to be all right. Maybe not match fit, but he's going to be fit. He's going to be raring to go. And if he can get, I don't know how many games they got left, but if he can get 15, 20 games in at the end of the season.
Mm-hmm. I think one other thing to note about Dabre is that his English isn't actually fantastic either. He is actually Italian. So actually, me and Woody saw him in pre-season at the Legends game, didn't we? And his English was not great, but he could say obviously a lot of basic words and stuff like that. So I think that's another good thing for him to go on loan, and that's all the experience. That's you've got to do it, and I think he'll just be a much better player coming out of it.
The thing is, as well, that level, there's a lot of 35-year-old ex-football league players.
Yeah,
that are gonna teach him things, gonna kick him, gonna give him elbows, going to do the horrible things that he's going to have to learn. He's going to have to cope with, and it's going to be a massive learning curve for him. So, good luck to him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nick, let's come over to you then. The other bit coming out of the club this week. They say there's no such thing as bad publicity, and Sky Sports News picked up on the trip out to Karachi.
Yeah, I saw a little bit of that. I thought they were just revamping old news because I'm sure that was out months and months and months ago. But
They've just gone back
They've
out.
gone out again, yeah.
right, yeah, yeah. I mean, you knocked it on the head there, Fyfie. You know, it's good news for the club. They seem quite confident that we're going to get some players coming through with the numbers that they're talking about. You know, why not? If that's a thing that we can tap into and get players that can come through the system. I think in going on from what we're talking about with Dadbury, I think that the shame is that we haven't got a reserve side or an under-23 side or whatever you want to call it, that we can get these players game time for Swindon rather than having to send them out on loan. Now, whether that's going to change in the future, I mean, I can't see. And we've talked about it before. All the teams in this area, you know, your Bristol's, Forest Green, Exeter's, Plymouth, Cheltenham, Oxford. There's no reason why you couldn't set up, whether you'd be allowed to, as an unofficial league that you play each other on a regular basis. And that would do us far more good than having to send players out on loan because they're still your players and you can keep an eye on them. So, you know, that's the hard facts is that we don't have a reserve team anymore. But yeah, if we can bring players in on that basis, as been shown on Sky, you know, if we get one or two, that would be a massive bonus. You know, looking at, and I've talked about it before, like the academies, they have something like 300 players, and if they get 2 players, that's a result. Mm-hmm. So, you know, if we're looking at, I don't know, 20, 30, 40, 50 players and we get one in, that's massive. And, you know, all good for the future.
Woody, I may have dreamt it, but have they not offered one person the opportunity to come over and trial?
I wouldn't know.
I think it was a coach one. I think the coach is going to come over.
Yeah, that's right. That's what it said.
I think that was part of the agreement anyway, wasn't it? That was part of the thing anyway, wasn't it? That they were going to do some crossover between the two. Yeah, I mean, like Nick said as well, it's good to be building those foundations abroad. I guess from a logistical employment law point of view, it'd be interesting if we do take any of them up because it's not a market that is seen as a requirement. So there's a lot of visas and stuff like that we'll have to go through if we did that. But they've obviously, hopefully planned all of that, if that is the case. But yeah, and like Rich said, when you think about where Mo Dabre came from, kind of come from an unknown as such, you do get those diamonds in the rough sometimes. And I agree with Joe. I think he is a quite a decent little footballer, but Worthing's probably the right thing for him at the moment. And I think we reflect on that he's only just turned 20, if I remember rightly, or he's turning 21 this year, and he's paid for like 3-4 Swindon managers, you know. So I wasn't surprised that he kind of came back and went out on loan. That's kind of pretty normal in football, where you get a new manager comes in, he wants to see all of his stock before he commits to anything. But yeah, I agree with Rich with the consistency purpose getting back out. The month by month thing is just an abuse of the FIFA rule, sending players out on loan for a month, because if you don't like it, you can recall them and then still send them out somewhere else. And that's probably the only advantage we have of going into of being in League Two, is typically the leagues below that we will loan them out to don't fall into that FIFA ruling where you can only play for 2 clubs a season. So I think that's why there's the month by month thing, because if he's not doing very well at Worthing, for example, we say, right, you're not having him anymore, we're going to send him somewhere else. But it's a decent league, that South, National South. You know, you've got Oxford City in there, you've got Ebbsfleet in there. Ebbsfleet have got a massive wage bill. So, you know, they are paying decent players. So
professional teams, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. I've always said that, kind of, in my opinion, League Two, National Top and National North and South I'm going to be honest, I don't think there's a huge amount of difference between them. If I'm, they're all hard leagues to get out of, and they've all got pros that have played at a good level. So I think he's going to be picking up quite a bit there. I mean, Chippenham are at the wrong end of that table. So maybe sending someone with the creativity that Dabre has, you don't really want to send a player like that to a struggling, side that are fighting for death at the bottom. You want him in that kind of the sides that are playing with flair. If it was a centre back like Minturn, for example, that's the exact type of player you send to someone like a Chippenham, where he's got to put his body on the line type thing. It's quite crafty. I do like it. I do like watching the loan system. Sometimes you'll often find a forward will go on loan to a team that are at the top end of the table, just so they know he's going to get chances created for him, etc. So, unfortunately, with our younger players who have got pro contracts, obviously that rule came in with Hellenic this season where they couldn't have loan players from professional football on professional contracts. So, I think is that the reason Oscar Massey came back? Joe would know. That's the reason he came back. We don't know anything about Oscar Massey, and it would just been quite nice for him to, if he had destroyed the Hellenic for a few months and then step up another 2 levels and see how he got on. But it's the right thing to do for Dabre. It's the right thing to do. I think that's the one thing I would say is our loans out this season and probably last season have been good moves, in my opinion. We are hopefully just going to one day just get a Scott Twine repeat. That's what we're waiting for.
Absolutely. Next up, and we mentioned it in the intro, there's been a few references to it already, but we couldn't not comment on some excellent news that was given to us yesterday. And that is that the Real EFL, in association with Lower League Look, have been running over the course of the last week the opportunity for fans to nominate their favourites in a whole array of categories, really, very similar to the Football Blog Awards, from characters to podcast of the year to not even just lower league, but favourite social media pages, that kind of thing, and we're in the very, very fortunate position, and we absolutely cannot thank everyone enough. As you saw in that picture there, not only were we nominated, which just means everything to us that people like what we do enough to nominate us for these kind of things, but we actually made the top 4 and the final shortlist for League Two's best podcast of the year. So first and foremost, to anyone who did take the time to nominate and ultimately chose to nominate us, we cannot thank you enough. It genuinely does mean everything. We've said plenty of times, as a fan base, Swindon Town are very, very fortunate. There is such a vast array of quality content, ranging from supporters club, to junior autism, to the old Duffers, Lauren, TSTBL. All of us are putting our own time into trying to create content to bring fans together. And I'm sure there's plenty more there that I forgot to mention. I know that quite a lot. Oh, Low Strangers, obviously, of course, need to be mentioned in that list. I know that there were quite a few of Swindon Town related podcasts that were nominated, and again, that just shows the quality that there is out there. But honestly, to be able to represent Swindon Town in this, obviously we were the ones who, on this occasion, managed to get enough nominations. Just honestly, from everyone associated with Fools Rush In, thank you. It really did, it caught us by surprise when our name was in the 4, and we hope to carry on generating some good content for you for a long time to come. There does seem to be, unfortunately, as is always the way, and I think we've mentioned it before, that there are always just a few people who look at it in one way other than the positive way that most will. So thank you to everyone who did send us comments, like well deserved, proud of you, good work, keep it up, lads, etc. And for those who've tried to make anything out of it more than it is, there isn't a rivalry between Swindon podcasts and vlogs and pods and stuff. We're all just trying to do the same thing in our own different ways. So if you're not happy that we've been nominated and someone else hasn't, next time it comes around, vote for who you want, because there is so much quality out there. But for those who do like what we do, again, just from all of us, thank you very much for picking us. Woody, you're one of the originals on here. What was your reaction when you saw the news that we made the top 4?
What was my reaction when Joe was also original and you decided to come to me? I
saw Joe's face there.
Joe was next.
No, I was absolutely buzzing from it. We don't. I'd say we don't care for the accolades, but it's more of a case of, we won't forget our roots in terms of where we've come from, why we started doing this. It was originally, you don't take enough credit, Fyfie, but I'm not going to blow smoke up your ass anymore because you never take the credit anyway. But this was originally started up as just kind of getting together because of lockdown and all of that kind of stuff, and then it just grew and grew and grew. Obviously, we're massively thankful to all of the people that watch. Because at the end of the day, one person watching who only watches once and then mentions it to somebody, that gets somebody else watching, and that's what gets us there. And and what I think is just amazing about it really is the fact that we haven't kind of grown old in the fact that there are exciting things to come.
Yes.
We've started to get guests on. And I know it's not a rivalry. You said it's not a rivalry. That is 100% true. But we literally, our budget is you, Fyfie. We don't have a budget to work with in any way. So the fact that I take a little bit of pride.
If I'm the budget, we definitely don't have a budget to work for.
I take kind of a little bit of pride in the fact that it's our raw content that people like, and that's the reason I was more than happy to join in the first place, and I think it is testament to all the kind of harder work that we have done in terms of when we did the mental health episodes, when we've done off Swindon topics, things like that. We're just never going to stop running out of ideas. Obviously, it's it really was amazing. I was chuffed to be nominated like yourself. The fact that we've got more nominations than other podcasts, not just Swindon podcasts, other podcasts. I listened to some, I think 2 of those that were in the 4 of us. Unfortunately, I didn't listen to the Northampton one, but I have heard the other 2, and they are good podcasts. They're quality. I mean, Stevenage is friend of the show, isn't it?
Yeah.
Matt. Yeah, is it Matt? Is that his name? Yeah. Matt. He's got absolutely quality podcast. So to be in kind of in with him on that and things like that, it's really good. And obviously we've got, in my opinion, we've got to thank Lower League a little bit as well, because we started off on Zoom kind of recording and posting it out. I still remember, Fyfie, you leaning on your sofa with Rockin' Robin in the corner on the phone type thing, and I think I was behind a red wall. I'm now behind in front of a purple wall. So it's just amazing. I'm extremely chuffed. Oh, for fuck's sake!
He just had to be on, didn't he? He just had to. Talking about
podcast awards, and voila, Mr. Podcast.
He's been on all of them anyway. Ben was always going to be part of the
Ben's up for 20 awards.
He's been on every fucking podcast.
But no, I'm massively, and I'm really, really, and I thank you as well, Fyfie, because I've stopped going out on a Friday night, so I'm not alcohol dependent anymore, unlike our friend Nick. And we've all got stories of how we ended up on here and what it does for us, and that's what we're all about, and we'll continue to be all about. So massive thank you to everybody.
Joe, yourself again, long-serving panelist. What was your reaction when you saw the news?
Yeah, I basically echo everything Woody said there. I mean, just for one person to nominate us is amazing. But to be in the top 4 of, I don't know how many nominees there were, but to be in the top 4 of League Two podcasts just blows my mind, to be honest, because I don't think originally we even set out to be a podcast. So it was just literally a few blokes chatting to each other, 3 or 4 of us, and see who watched it. But yeah, I mean, what we've achieved with no money, basically, just us.
Right, lads, I'm working on it.
Yeah.
No, he's paying all our salaries, though, to be fair. So
2023 is going to be an expensive year for Fyfie. But no, I'm proud of what we've achieved. We've dragged Ben along the way, and you got to carry some dead weight in you sometimes. But I think we're forgetting how we got really popular was introducing the young gentleman in the corner, old Nick up there. That's when things really got big for FRI. So thank you, Mr. Oakers Road, and for joining in and coming along on the journey. And we'll be here for many years yet to come. And I'll get less hair here and more hair here.
Well, it was Mr. Young Master Oakers Road I wanted to come to next, because obviously this is all being done based on people taking the time to nominate. And as the ultimate fan favourite panellist, what do you have to say, Nick, to anyone who did take the time to pick us?
Yeah, Fyfie, like everybody said, it's just a massive thank you to people, to nominate us and get us into that top 4 spot. But, for me personally, as the proverbial old git, the oldest member of the pod, the oldest, newest member of the pod, I just love being on here, to be honest. I started following you, sending questions in, and then somebody said, invite him on. And I actually had an interview with Fyfie, which I thought was, Christ, there must be a bit professional if he's interviewing me to come on the pod.
Let's just clarify this. Nick,
you had an interview?
No. So let's clarify this. We've discussed this before. So Nick, I asked Nick if he wanted to come on. Nick wasn't sure if he was able to do what he does. So he asked me to phone him and talk to him to see if he was a good enough talker to be on here. Could you imagine, like, the last 6 to 9 months if I said Nick isn't good at talking?
I just imagine Fyfie on the other end of the phone going, so Nick, what if you were an animal, what animal would you be? Oh no, we've already got Rich. No more room for camels. Sorry.
But no.
What's your favourite? Oh wait, no.
But I mean, it's brilliant, and I've been out on a couple of night outs with you guys, and there's 11 of us on the pod. We meet up occasionally, and honest to God, I could not meet up with a more fantastic group of people.
Does that include one show?
Well, yeah. I met him. No, I haven't met him. No, that was before my time.
Let's be clear. The mystique of one show, there are only a few people who actually know who one show is. But one day, one show will become 2 show, and it'll be well worth the wait.
No, don't spoil the illusion, Fyfie. That would just spoil it for everybody.
It has to be said that one show isn't a character we've made up. He's not like a mascot. One show very much exists, and is
he probably is.
He is very much a treasured part of what we are, the fabric of Fools Rush In.
Going on, as well as meeting you guys, I mean, I've made contact with. And I must say,
here comes the little black book. Hang on, lads.
Yeah, and I don't know why. And
it's the Oscar nomination.
Some absolutely lovely ladies, and I say thank you to you all. It's an absolute joy, absolute pleasure, and it just makes my day. So, thank you. I look forward to seeing you again. I'm actually meeting up with Joe on Saturday, so I'm really looking forward to that. And to be honest, life don't get much better.
Mark, I have seen your message and I will reply in kind at the end of tonight's episode. But thank you very much, it has to be said. Rich, let's come over to you. It's only fair. And Ben, we'll come to you in a minute as well. Good evening, sir. Rich, how excited are you to know that, that the recognition for what we're doing is there?
Yeah, I think like echoing both Joe and Woody as well. It's like obviously the humble beginnings of Force Rush In. Like me and Woody spoke quite a lot. We were like, when we first started doing this, that like we're only just starting. Like, wait for a couple of years that we're going to start getting a lot more viewers. We're going to get popular. We're going to get people talking about us and stuff like that. Did we ever think that we were going to get nominated for something? No. Definitely not.
Fell for my pipe dream, didn't he? You can tell I work in HR and recruitment.
But I mean, like, going back to like when we were just known as STFC Fan Chat, like seriously, that's all. That's what you have to type in to get us on YouTube, STFC Fan Chat. And yeah, it was brilliant. And we just thought, like Joe said, it was just like, lads down the pub, and we've never gone away from that. We've never moved away from that. We've always stuck with that. We've just always stuck with the banter, and I think that's what's made us just, well, likable, I guess. And I guess. But,
I don't think that's come out the way you intended that to come out.
But no, it's
superb.
See, just things like this, it's just absolutely fantastic. It's like, and we'll always stay humble. We'll always stick to our roots. And I mean, going from a show that we were doing 1 month to then doing on the whistle, to then doing 1 show a week, to then doing 2 shows a week, and now to be doing live shows, is just seeing the massive progression of Force Rush In. And yeah, it's wait. No, yeah, that definitely.
I love that Rich is reacting to something that nobody else can see right now.
No, it's definitely not.
One day you're going to learn to talk and read.
Yeah, it's something I've got to do. But no, again, just to echo all the boys, thank you very much for everybody that nominated us. And yeah, hopefully, I mean, who knows whether win or lose. We've already won in our eyes, so it's always great to obviously be nominated, and we'll move on and keep on going and doing these shows every week.
Well, thank you for your Miss World acceptance speech there, Rich.
It was better than Nick. He was fucking there. I thought he was going to name every girl he's bloody since he's joined Force Rush.
Ben, we joked as you entered. Good evening, by the way. We joked as you entered. But we couldn't talk about podcasts without having you on. And as someone who is active on social media, but has been a huge part of what has made Force Rush In enjoyable for me and for the regulars, you must have been delighted to see that we made the top 4.
That's very kind of you. Yeah, I'm delighted for everyone. More or less, I'm delighted for you, Fyfie, because of all the hard work that you put in and you got us all together. I know you hate that sort of thing.
Fucking brown nose.
I know. I hate that.
It's a team effort. I sit here and I press buttons. You lot do the talking.
I know you prep loads, Fyfie, and I know you ask specific questions to specific pundits.
We don't answer most of the time.
But that you know it's going to get a reaction, and you do it at the right time to get that reaction, because it knows that it's going to cause up a massive blow up, and you do that purposely. You're the master at arms. So I think a big congratulations for you, young man. I know you don't like people saying that, but I do think we should doff a cap towards you for making this what the success that it is.
Well, last time I saw you in the cap, you ignored me at Burton.
Can I ignore you at Burton? But no, I think why it may probably got a few votes is because we're all different characters. We're all, we're not all cut from the same cloth. And I think that we do blend quite well together. We don't all have the same opinion. We do argue, but we do get on really at the end of the day. And I think there's just good chemistry between us. And thank you to anyone that just watched it. The voting of it, that's just unbelievable. Just that people tune in and spend their Friday and their Monday nights watching us. It's just mind-blowing. Because as I said at the beginning, this was just something just to do during lockdown that just kept us being sane, a men's mental health thing. And it's grown and it's blown up. And now we're getting recognition from... national. It's a national podcast competition, and we've been and we've had a nod towards us, and I think that's unbelievable, and I don't think it's sunk in yet. So thank you to all who's nominated us. Really, really appreciate it. Thank you.
Let's move on. We can only talk about ourselves so much. Let's move on to what does make us that little bit more unique, and it's our array of very quickly constructed games that don't always go 100% correctly.
Myth of the game.
And I'll be honest, I've gone a bit old school by actually doing the work myself instead of relying on Mike or John. I've done it myself. I've actually put some effort in.
Watch out,
Up
lads.
your game now. Up to your game now. You got a nomination, Fyfie.
Well, no, it's more to do with the fact that after what was a very enjoyable game on Monday, Mike said he's got a couple of ideas he's working on, but then didn't come back to me to say that he'd worked on one enough that I could use it. I thought, I better put some effort in then. So what I've done is it's a very simple game. It's not going to tax too much, but hopefully it'll be enjoyable. It is represented us both. I have a list of players, or a list of names, I should say, that have represented both Swindon Town and Doncaster. And all I want you to do is guess who it is. I will give you their initials and their position. And we're going to do this old school. You're all playing against each other. First one to get it right gets the points. There's not many. There's, I don't know, about 12 there. And we start with an attacker with the initials K.A.
Keshi Anderson.
Keshi Anderson is correct. Joe loves a quiz, doesn't he? Absolutely loves a quiz.
Keshi.
So that's 1 point for Joe. Next up.
Just for a change, is injured at the moment.
Oh, is he injured? Is he? That's a shock.
Oh, shock.
Mike, honestly, there is no need to apologise. It's about time I put some effort in, I suppose. Everyone else seems to. Next, we go to a former captain whose initials are GG.
Gordon Greer.
Nick came through first.
Yes,
What?
I beat you, Rick. I beat you.
I'm not having that.
Rich is such a youth. I didn't get my way. Mate, these headphones that Ned got for me are crystal clear, and I heard Nick.
Other than that, you're muted, Rich.
I think I am. Hang on.
Next up, we're going for another attacker who was here on loan from memory and can be considered, perhaps harshly, something of a journeyman with the initials D.N.
Danny and Gesson.
Danny and Gesson, Joe. Well done.
Well done, Joe.
DNG.
Danny and Gesson.
Sorry, do you want the apostrophe as well, Rich?
Yeah.
I'm going to spell out the whole name for you.
If you had said DNG, I would have got it straight away.
Yeah.
Next, we have an attack-minded midfielder who may or may not have been considered related to another professional footballer with the initials F.R.
Fabian Robert.
Joe is not messing about.
He's
He
on
played for
fire.
Oh,
Did he
you're
play
good
for
at these.
Doncaster, did he?
He knows
You were
his
there.
he knows his
Oh.
Doncaster Swindon Town Linksters, Joe.
I like Robert.
I thought-
I'm surprised he ended up like non-league the way he did. I thought he was all right.
I thought he went to non-league straight after Swindon.
He played for Gloucester for a bit, didn't he? For
Yeah.
a few
He
years.
was
Yeah, he
last
did,
year.
yeah.
Next, all I'm going to say is it's Ben's best mate with the initials JS.
I haven't
John
played.
Sheridan.
I haven't
John
played.
Sheridan is correct, Woody.
John Sheridan never
Yeah,
played
Donny.
for Swindon.
He didn't play for us.
Yeah,
I never said
He
I,
just said
I
never
said
said play.
represented both.
Yeah, he did say represented.
Okay.
Because I'm waiting for Richie Wellens.
When was he
Yeah.
manager of Doncaster?
I played for him.
Next, we have a young man who has had Premier League exposure with the initials HT.
Harry
Toffolo.
Harry Toffolo is correct. Now, I heard Joe, I heard Woody, but there was someone else as well.
Nick.
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 And Nick,
Mine.
therefore, is the one that gets the point. Well done, Nick. So the scores at the moment, Rich and Ben yet to score, Woody on 1, Nick on 2, Joe on 3.
Robbed.
Oh, don't you
Shit,
start. I've seen enough people suggesting that there's been a robbing going on lately.
Oh, I know. Yeah, me too. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Evening Arch.
Next, we've got, what can only be described in modern times as most people's favourite loanee with the initials JY.
Jerry Yates.
Well done, Woody.
Jerry
Yatesy,
Yates.
Yatesy,
He played for
Yatesy.
Doncaster.
Jerry Yates.
We're going to
Well, must have been as a youth.
we're going to a current member of the Swindon Town first team with the initials MB.
Matty Baldry.
Well done, Woody.
Oh, what is coming up on the
Woody
offside?
is now joint top with Joe.
Giving it to Steve Evans.
Oh shit!
An attacker who came on loan from, I want to say Watford, with the initials DH.
Oh,
Right.
Darius Henderson.
Darius Henderson.
Well done, Nick.
Yes,
Darius
Henderson.
Henderson. And that means, as it stands,
Robbed.
Rich and Ben yet to score. Nick, Joe, and Woody on 3 apiece. With 5 to play, this is going to be tight.
I'm still in it. I'm still in it. Then come on.
I mean, you've given Nick 2 that he wasn't first.
I mean,
but,
Hey, come on, man.
Those crystal clear
Look,
headphones.
look. Fyfie's got the headphones. That's all I'm saying.
RW.
Richie
Richie
Wellens.
Wellens.
Rich gets C.
I said Richie Wellens. I said Richie Wellens.
Come on.
It was Richie Wellens. I had that.
Rich got
I said
there.
that earlier, so I think I should get it because I said it earlier.
Rob this point.
A former Premier League midfielder who at one time was linked with the Swindon Town manager's job. Initials RM. RM.
Sorry,
Mike,
Premier League. Did you say?
former Premier League
Oh,
midfielder.
Ryan Mason.
Ryan Mason, Woody, well done.
Ryan Mason.
Ooh, good shout.
Great shout.
I know Doncaster better than I thought I did. Come on, the Dons. Come on, the Bells. Oh no, sorry, wrong Doncaster.
For anyone who missed it, Mike, there by the end, Fyfie will announce Craig as the winner. So 3 to go, and the oldest representative on the entire list, again, has played at the highest level in the English domestic league with the initials JM.
Jody Morris.
Mackie.
No, not Jody
Mackie?
Morris.
No.
Not Jamie
Jamie
Mackie.
Mackie?
Nope.
No. Martin. James Martin.
Jones Martin? No.
James Martin.
James Martin, does he not do some ITV cooking show?
Yeah, no shit. Sorry. Yeah. I'm thinking of
Played at the highest level.
He did.
Doncaster have not really been there, have they? So let's go.
John Moncur.
John Moncur is correct.
Oh, it's John Moncur.
Oh.
Good shout.
John Moncur, or as he was known at the town end, James Martin.
Well, that had to be somebody from the Premier League, didn't it?
I was
that's what I was thinking.
I was thinking of Chris Martin, to be fair.
So
I could have sworn he played for Don. Oh.
2 to play. We've got Ben on 0, Rich on 1, Nick on 3, Joe and Woody on 4.
God, I need another one to be respectable.
Standard quizzing going on here. It's always me and Woody.
With the shadows.
We're going for an attacker.
Andy Williams.
No, not Andy Williams.
Right, you're out. You're out.
Can you take a point off for an inappropriate answer?
Well, I'm sure that between you guys, you've shouted out worse than that tonight.
James Martin.
Oh, actually, sorry, I need to interrupt the quiz just for a minute. Yes, John's messaged me. Sorry, he asked after our nominations if I would put forward the request that we all wear shirts and ties tonight to celebrate, but I forgot to message the group to ask.
Oh.
Sorry, John.
We'll do it when we win.
Yeah.
Right, the penultimate choice, as we were saying, an attacker who fairly recently sent out a tweet about getting the band back together.
Billy Painter.
Billy Painter is correct.
Shit, yeah.
Joe.
Of course he did.
Joe had already said a wrong answer, so I hope I've got the point for that one.
No, Joe's got it. Which means if Woody doesn't get this correct, Joe is the winner.
Absolute robbery.
Come on, everybody else.
Just gonna log in as Fyfie and mute everybody in a minute.
The final player in this game is a midfielder with the initials MT.
Michael Timlin.
Michael Timlin is correct. Woody.
I'm waiting for Noyle's name to pop up just so I could splash.
I was waiting for Noyle as well. I swear.
Did Kyle Noyle go there? I thought
Kyle Noyle went there with Richie Wellens.
Donny as well.
I thought
He's
it was
only
Carl
just gone
Bennett.
to Stockport, but he was with them as early as the season.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry you were waiting for an answer that wasn't there, Ben.
Oh.
I'm terribly
Richie Wellens, but I shouted out Richie before anyone else did.
No, you didn't. No, I definitely had that.
Bloody.
So that means that the
I should have
final
had two,
scores
really.
on the Played For Us Both quiz, or Represented Us Both quiz, Ben 0, Rich 1, Nick 3, Joe and Woody share the spoils, as is often the way, with 5
Well done,
apiece.
Well done, Joe.
That's why radio.
The bearded devils.
It's all that
Listen,
knowledge we have in our beards.
Ben, you were obviously at work while Jack was pretending to be you.
I hate it when he does that.
He does it all the time.
Jack suggested a 3-1 win. Are you going with that for tomorrow?
Yeah, I think I agree with him with that. 3-1.
Oh, funny
Yeah.
Listen, guys, thank you very much for spending your Friday evening with me as usual. Thank you to everyone who has watched along and added comments. Thank you to anyone who will listen back or watch it back as well. Have a wonderful weekend. We will see you on Monday. Has Ben just put something on his head? No, okay. I thought Ben was... I've completely lost track of what was going on. From everyone at Fools Rush In, thank you very much for joining us. Goodbye.
Take my hand, take my whole life too, but I can't